Well, the first convoy of United Nations aid has arrived in northwest Syria through one of two newly reopened border crossings. The parts of Syria worst hit by last week's quake are in rebel-held areas. Syria's President Assad wanted all international aid to be routed through Damascus, and his main backer, Russia, was threatening to use its Security Council veto to keep all but one border crossing to Turkey closed. But the Syrian regime now says both border crossings will stay open for the next 3 months. Well, let's talk to Tony O'Riordan, the country director with the Jesuit Refugee Services Group in Syria. Tony, welcome to the programme. Good to see you. Presumably many people homeless. In your judgment, based on what you've seen, will they become refugees abroad or will they stay internally displaced within Syria?
That's a very difficult question to answer. I think right now people are just thinking about getting through tonight, where the temperatures will be sub-zero, and people are living hour to hour and are also labouring under the rubble. We hear very much about the people who have died under the weight of buildings. The survivors, the millions of survivors, are now living under the weight of stress and trauma and fear from the terrific hours of about 12 hours of terror, and also facing the uncertainty of the future, many without a home to go to, many fearing that the homes that they have left may be destroyed because they are unsafe, and the situation of their future is quite uncertain.
Tony, we've been reporting on the difficulty of getting aid into Syria. In your judgment, what is the aid situation now in northern Syria?
Well, the first response for aid came internally from Syrians, from across even the affected areas. People did what they could, and across Syria in the unaffected areas. So some aid, like immediate things like some blankets and some food, start to flow. Then it's begun to flow from neighbouring countries. So some aid is getting through to the people most in need. The issue is that the scale of the need is so great that the aid is not getting through in volumes, or other aid that is needed, such as medical care, such as appropriate shelter. The response for this is not really showing any evidence on the ground yet, and the shelter is a critical one, as well as the psychosocial intervention. There are two things preventing people from returning to their homes in normality. That is adequate shelter, and also dealing with the fear that they experience. So we need aid at that level and material assistance.
And why are we seeing these hold-ups in aid? Is it possible to pinpoint the obstacles?
I think it's just the logistics of getting the aid in, and then the coordination of getting the aid to the people. We're a small organisation that we've been on the ground for the last 12 years, so we have good relations and knowledge of the area. For the mobilisation of groups who are just arriving in Aleppo now, it takes some time to identify the areas that need the needs. So I think there's just a logistic and a coordination issue, and I'm hopeful that the aid can get through, but the aid also needs resourcing. So people are mobilising with funding and governments are mobilising, but I think we need greater speed on this, because there's a risk of secondary casualties because of cold, because of unable to access medical care, and people will die from preventable causes.
Tony, good luck. I hope we can talk to you again in coming days. Tony O'Riordan, the country director with the Jesuit Refugee Services Group in Syria.